It's 6:30, so I would like to call this meeting to order, and I ask that you rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor the memory of Leslie Jenkins, paraeducator at North Canyon High School. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you very much. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Pantera,
Here.
Mrs. Case,
Here.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Christensen.
Here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you very much. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have had time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. Any member of the audience who submitted a blue public comment card prior to the start of the meeting will be recognized to speak on that agenda item under items for approval. I believe we have a blue card, so we will be moving agenda item F11 to right after gifts and donations, G6. And I would offer the agenda as posted.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. So prior to the meeting, as Dr. Reynolds just said, we received one blue public comment card, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to remark on a specific agenda item and will be recognized to speak under items for approval. As Dr. Reynolds said, it will be moved to G6, after everything else. And as a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board. Does any member of the governing board wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommended consent agenda items?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mrs. Baker, would you like to start?
Thank you, President Greenberg. I just want to say welcome back. I hope everyone had a relaxing summer if that's what you needed, and a fun summer if that's what you needed, and you just got what you needed out of the summer. I got to spend a lot of time with my family, my kids, which was awesome. My 3 oldest boys who are adults are all back home somehow. And so I got a lot of kid time. And I just want to say a thank you to all the educators and staff who worked so hard to make sure that our kids had the best back to school that they could possibly have. I know my kids loved their first week of school, and so I just want to show my appreciation for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Mrs. Christensen.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the 2024-25 school year. I would like to welcome all the Fit PV school families, educators, and community members that have come here or that are listening online today. And a big congratulations to, we did have a graduation recently. So congratulations to the PV USD class of 2024 summer grads. There were some amazing students that we're so proud of them because they endured. You know, they may have had some hiccups for one reason or another, but they had the tenacity to finish. So we were so proud of those students from all the high schools, right? And I'd like to welcome Dr. Reynolds. You'll hear from him later. He's our new interim superintendent. It's kind of a welcome back. He has been in the district before, but we're very excited that he's going to be steering the ship for the next year at least. And I just want just a public service announcement. We know that during the first week of school, there's always little hiccups. And we as governing, but I don't want to speak for everybody, but at least me, but I'm sure everybody else, we love to hear from y'all. But remember, if you have an issue, the lowest level, so if you have an issue with the teacher, go to the teacher, and then the escalation process is teacher, principal, superintendent, and then governing board. And we love to hear from y'all, and we love to help out, but
There are a few layers in between.
there's lots of layers in between. I'm talking about major escalations. Don't just come straight to us is what my point is, even though we love to hear from you. And then just welcome back and happy first week of school.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. Mr. Pantera?
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. It's so good to be back here. It was a wonderful start of a school year. I did what I always do. I went to Eagle Ridge and right away signed up for the PTSA over there. It's my old school, and I felt I couldn't start a year unless I did that. It was nice to see, though, that first day, the students coming in, the teachers welcoming them. They have a whole new dynamic over there, and I'm so glad that it seemed to go pretty smooth and seamlessly for me. I love seeing that. My summer was a bit of travel, a bit of getting out of the country and doing some other things. But some of the enjoyable things that I encountered was in the middle of July, a former student reaches out to me. Says, Mr. Pantera, we're thinking of, he has his first child, and he says, we're thinking of moving to the district. Can you tell us anything about the gifted program? And of course I could tell him about the gifted program. He was my former student, and I could tell him, brag about Boulder Creek being the best school, talk about Fireside, the Blue Ribbon School, all the things we do in our district. You know, the great electives we have in Mountainside. So I think he's going to be moving here. And then at the Elks Lodge right down the street here, I'm a member there. I was in there maybe 2 weeks ago. And one of the members there had the child, so I've got to interact with children. There's children, I got to, say hi to them. Turns out she was going from Sunset to Eagle Ridge and she was very excited. She said, oh, I've got some of my friends are going. But she was excited about meeting new friends, going from kindergarten to first grade. Everybody's your buddy, right? And I felt so at ease to tell her about our programs. It comes off the top of my tongue, just everything, this program, that program, the other program. It pumped me up. It pumped me up, and just so proud of this district that I can just so easily and take such full pride in what everyone's doing out there. And I know it's going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. Mrs. Case?
Welcome back, everyone. Most excited to have a new year started, and from everything I've heard, it's been going really well. So I'm grateful for that. And a special welcome to Dr. Reynolds to your school board meeting here. And I think he's happily off and moving quickly and wisely. So I appreciate the things that he's already doing and the proactive, everything that's going on. And I really appreciate his leadership. I have something kind of out there to talk about. Since this is a small group here, but maybe there's some online, just to think about right now, we're not voting on it. I'm never going to vote on a calendar again. But if you want to think about it, did you like starting this early this year? Or would you rather not have a fall break and start a little later? Now, that's up to everyone. It's always left to the public and the teachers and the parents to decide what they like. And the calendar committee takes what they like and do it. The calendar is the most difficult thing you can ever imagine. Anyway, but just something to think about. Was it worth starting this early to have a fall break? I don't know. And that's all up to the public to decide, and I never will decide that again. So, and the calendar is in place till 26, 27. It's not something that's on the near horizon. So just thought I'd ask that question. And with that said, hopefully the storm is cooling it off a little bit, because we started out the week a little bit warm at the schools and all that. So thank you for everyone who gets ready to start a school year, from the janitors to all the people finishing construction projects, especially the air conditioners, all those things that happen so that school can start. I really appreciate, and a special thank you to the teachers who got their classrooms ready. Having taught for so many years, it is so much work, so much work. And I just want to shout out to the teachers so that they can have a warm, happy place for students to come to. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Case. I would also like to welcome Dr. Reynolds to his first official board meeting here on this side of the dais. Looking forward to many more. Would also like to say welcome back. First week of school is always incredibly exciting. A little less hectic when you don't have students. You have to get to school. But all reports where everything went well, and just fantastic start. Would like to shout out to our 21 summer graduates as well. The graduation was fantastic. We had representatives from all of our schools, except, yes, some didn't walk, but everybody was there, or all of our schools were represented. And also would like to shout out to Dr. Cunningham, who professional development every year puts on an all administrators sort of welcome back professional development day. So I was there for part of that. It was a fantastic, very fun event, but also a lot of sort of team building, and it went really well, at least the time I was there. Would also like to shout out to PVA and admin for the new certificated employee orientation. That was last week, welcoming all of the teachers who are new to the district. Quite a number, not tons, but I think we had about 160, 165, more than that. You can tell me later. Oh, wait, Dr. Reynolds will have the exact number, but thank you. Many of them are former students who came up through PV schools and decided that when they, decided they wanted to teach and decided they wanted to teach here. So it's amazing to welcome back that many. Many are brand new teachers, brand new to the profession, but there's a lot who have chosen our district to teach in after teaching elsewhere. So it was very exciting to have the opportunity to welcome them as well. And welcome to our first board meeting of the school year. And I am. Sure.
Sorry. We have another new face up here. I would just like to welcome Dr. Lindsay to her first official board meeting with her name at the dais, and I didn't want her to feel left out as also a new face sitting with us. So welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda is usually awards and recognitions, but this early in the school year, there aren't any today. So next is superintendent's comments. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Greenberg, Governing Board, Cabinet, and all of our guests. I would first like to echo the comments that many of our board members said, and welcome back our students, our teachers, our support staff, all of our principals, everyone who supports students, including parents, all the work you did. There is a collective cheer when the first day of school comes, and that's usually from many of our parents who are ready for their students their children to come and get back to learning in our schools. But I also want to say thank you to this community for the warm welcome that you have shown me over the past few weeks. It is very surreal to be back and sitting up here, but I am so excited to be part of this team. And so I just wanted to thank the governing board for inviting me back as interim superintendent. And I'm really excited about this year. So thank you so much. I've got a few more comments. First of all, in PV schools, we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high quality instruction, meaningful education opportunities, and dynamic learning experience. One of those opportunities is providing that new teacher training that you mentioned, President Greenberg, to ensure that our students receive an unrivaled educational experience. This year, we welcomed 183 new teachers to Paradise, with 71 of them being first-year teachers. So our teachers had opportunities to learn tips and tricks for effective lesson plans, classroom management, student engagement, and all things PV. We also welcomed 14 new members to our Aspire program for our elementary K-8 and our special education cohorts. I was impressed to learn how many of our new teachers are PV schools alum. It was amazing when we asked them to stand how many of our students have gone on to become teachers and then come back to PV schools. I just wanted to thank all the people involved in that training and welcoming and creating that environment for our teachers as they kick off their career here in PV schools. As we begin the new school year, it's a good reminder that communication between families and PV schools is vital. We want to encourage you to connect with your child's teacher, school, and the district throughout the school year. One of the easiest ways to stay connected is through email and phone, which is why we want to remind our parents and our guardians to complete the annual update in Infinite Campus. This update ensures the correct email, phone number, address, and emergency contact information are on file, and it also allows teachers, principals, and the district to keep you up to date on the latest news and information from Paradise. Mrs. Chisman, would you put on my calendar that I need to update my information? Realize I haven't done that yet. Finally, I want to encourage you to follow PV Schools and your child's school on social media and visit our official websites often. Communication and collaboration between parents, guardians, and students and staff are key to ensuring every student has a successful education experience. As we step into the new school year, let's remember that each day is a new chance to learn, grow, and achieve excellence. To our students, I'd like to say, embrace every challenge with enthusiasm, regardless of what time of the morning it is, and curiosity, knowing that how hard you work will lead to incredible achievements. To our staff, I want you to know that your dedication and passion are the foundation of our students' success. Together, we can continue to foster an inspiring, supportive environment where everyone can thrive. And parents, please know that we are here to partner with you as you make the educational decisions for your children. Thank you for being part of our community, for choosing PV Schools, and for all you do to support student success. Welcome back to Paradise for the 2024-25 school year. And one last, please be patient as I learn our processes, and if you need to nudge me that it's my turn, please do.
Always will. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Next on the agenda is items for approval, and the first is consideration approval of administrative personnel actions. I will turn it over to Dr. Holmes.
Madam President, members of the board, Brandy Tuman is currently a customer support specialist for EMS Link, a software company that specializes in K-12 solutions. Specifically, she supports a school nutrition software program. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition from ASU, and if approved, she will receive salary and benefits consistent with the COA bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Ms. Tuman to be the next coordinator of nutrition and wellness.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. May I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Brandy Tuman as the next coordinator of nutrition and wellness as presented? Mrs. Christensen,
So moved.
does any member of the board wish to make a comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Tuman.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome.
Do you want to stand up and wave? Do you have any family or friends? Welcome. Great. Thank you. And welcome back. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of our 24-25 board norms. This is something the board has been doing for, I don't know, Mrs. Case, several years now. And we post them on the website, so unless you really, really want me to read them, I don't think I need to. We have not recommended any changes. We feel pretty confident and clear on what's here now. And so unless somebody does want me to read them, may I have a motion to approve the 24-25 board norms as presented? Mrs. Christensen,
So moved.
does any board member wish to make a comment? Mrs. Christensen?
Yeah, just that we approved these last year and we hashed out a lot of changes. So as Mrs. Greenberg said, we're not making any changes. So that's why we're not having a lot of heated discussion.
And we don't have any Boy Scouts here either, so getting their communication badges. So if nobody else has any comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is for the governing board to discuss and consider action regarding the Arizona School Board's ASBA draft 2025 political agenda and direct Mr. Pantera as our delegate to the Delegate Assembly to represent our determined position as discussed. So the process says on my script, I am to review the process. And I haven't actually served on the legislative committee for ASBA for a handful of years now, but the process usually is that there is an existing agenda that talks about, that provides the ASBA government relations team and others with positions should legislation arise during the year, or should coalitions and partners decide to present, ask legislators to carry legislation or consider legislation. And it used to be a very long document. It used to be very individual planks, and it has moved into more of a values and principles related document. It's changed a little bit since we created that document, but is essentially the same format and covers much the same ground. And we all did discuss this just as a discussion item previously. And part of that is they asked member districts to also provide priorities in terms of existing pieces of the agenda. And then if we desire a couple of new ones for the committee to consider. The committee has met, and we all received the recommendations that they are sending. And as they have done in a couple of years, they're sending the 2024 political agenda marked up as the 2025. So I didn't ask for the motion yet, right? I just plunged right in. So Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to approve in whole or in part the ASBA draft 2025 political agenda and direct Mr. Pantera as the district's delegate to the Delegate Assembly to represent the board's determined position as discussed?
So moved.
Now, would any board member like to comment on the draft 2025 political agenda, et cetera? I know Mrs. Case would like to.
It's difficult with the variety of schools and districts around the state to have something that everybody agrees to. I mean, we can hardly agree all the time on what we do, but then you multiply it in many, many districts across the state, and it becomes even more difficult. And so some of the things in here I agree with, and some of the things I disagree. Like, I really feel like we need all unified school districts in the state. I grew up in Phoenix Elementary and went to Phoenix Union, a high school in Phoenix Union. And I think that it's fiscally more responsible to have larger districts for spending of money. And so I don't always agree, some of the wording in here I don't agree with, for instance, about that. But there's other things in here that I really agree with. So I don't know. I wish you luck. And I don't know how binding this is on anyone. It's just an influence. It just kind of gives direction. It doesn't really. You want to explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, binding isn't really the word. What it does is it provides the government, for the most part, the government relations team at ASBA with direction. So for example, if there was legislation regarding the aggregate expenditure limit, there is something here that would say, okay, if ASBA, if Director Cotterman is going to go discuss that with legislators, the position would be to ask for its repeal.
Right.
So that's what it does, is it provides direction to.
Provides
to the team.
direction to the
Yeah.
advocacy. But like it has in here propositions 123 and 301 to preserve and protect the voters' original intent. And I totally agree with that. And I think I think that anybody that gets public money should have the same accounting necessary that we go through. They shouldn't just be able to spend money however they want to and not show what they're spending money on. And I think that's really important. So there are things in here that I really agree with, and there's things I disagree with. So however that goes.
The one thing, the overriding process on this, a lot of it is encouraging the legislature to let school districts, make the decisions for their students. Local control is a big thing. Like you mentioned, unifying districts. Well, other districts could still agree to unify if they wanted to, but it's their decision to make, not imposed upon them from up on high. And a lot of these things are about local control, keeping it with the parents, keeping it with the district, not some big brother telling us what to do. And that's a lot of focus on a lot of these things in here. I really like it.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. Mrs. Christensen, Mrs. Baker, do you have any? Mr. Christensen?
Yes, I do concur with some of the statements that Mrs. Case and Mr. Pantera, gosh, known you for a long time. I don't know why I can't pronounce your name, Mr. Pantera mentioned, especially the local control, because that's very important. And a lot of states, they're not organized like Arizona, so it's top down. And so, for instance, a superintendent of public instruction can set curriculum or they can set things, but we have a unique setup here, and we're very fortunate that we do have local control. And so it's, a lot of people don't understand this, that each governing board can, with partnering with the schools and the leadership of the districts, we make our own policies and we make our own rules. So I think that's a good thing that we need to keep. So I do concur with Tony on that local control is really important. Mrs. Case made an interesting comment about the unified, because I kind of have been thinking about this as well, with all of the funds, and perhaps consolidating some of the smaller districts might be an interesting proposition, because a unified district, for those of you that don't know, is K through 12, sometimes pre-K through 12, whereas we have many districts in our state that sit, for instance, like a Fountain Hills, they have one elementary, a middle, and a high school, and I think Cave Creek is similar. And so, it would help with funding. It might help with other things. So it's an interesting conversation starter to have, to be able to consolidate, especially since we're kind of going through some challenges with finances across our state. I do, I'm like Nancy, like Mrs. Case, I agree with some of it and some of it, it just kind of comes out of nowhere, but I think it's because there are, like you mentioned, there's so many districts and there's so many different voices. And so that's part of the process. So again, I don't agree with everything in here, but hopefully Mr. Pantera will represent our district well in this process, and they can give ASBA some good direction.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. I don't see, I mean, just based on what was approved by the Delegate Assembly last year and what the changes are, there's not a lot of dramatic changes. It feels like there's more editing rather than copywriting here, I think that's going on. There are a few new pieces that there's a new recommendation to provide consistent, dedicated, and flexible sources of ongoing state capital funding to Arizona Public Schools to fully maintain and renew physical assets that were built with either local or state taxpayer dollars. I think this sort of reflects the reduced position of the State Facilities Board and an attempt to, provide another means to look at capital funding. I really wish that they had provided some of the rationales. I know that you will hear that during the assembly, so you'll have better insight into why some of these things were changed or were proposed. But overall, I don't see a whole lot that's really that new and different. So I do like, actually, under school safety and security, there is an addition of develop a more comprehensive harassment/bullying definition system to better enhance the clarity of understanding and protection of our youth. So I think that's, if you look under its second last page, school safety and security, number 6. So just to help better define what harassment and bullying means. So yeah, I think that's a nice addition to the safety and security. So overall, I think personally it would have been helpful to see some of the rationales, but I know that doesn't come until the Delegate Assembly, but I don't think that much was changed. So I think given that we approved it, for the most part, approved it last year, I guess I would just ask if there's something specific, because the motion is in whole or in part. So if there's anything here that you really do disagree with, that you'd rather Mr. Pantera argue against or argue for change, this would be the time now to bring that out. So Mrs. Case?
On the first page, it talks about fill difficult positions, including CTED instructors. And then later down in that same page, it says career and technical education. And I think anything our state can do in that area is beneficial to our students. And I think there needs to be an increased emphasis on CTE programs. I really think that it's going to serve our students well. And we do that in our district, and we're continuing to improve in that area. But I think there needs to be an emphasis from the pressuring the legislature to help us in some of those things are very expensive, but we need to do those things because we need to provide instruction and certification to these students as they leave our schools. And it needs to be a statewide momentum going forward.
So your recommendation is thumbs up on that?
Oh,
Absolutely.
huge thumbs up.
Okay. Is there anything else that anybody would like to just point out? Sure. Mrs. Christensen?
Yeah, maybe you all can help me find it. I thought there was something on JROTC on here, but maybe it was on a different copy. I just want to make sure that we still support those types of programs as well. And I thought it was in one that I don't see it in here. So that would kind of fall into programs yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and what was agreed upon was that ROTC is included in one of these other categories. It would be a redundancy. But we definitely want to support that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would just like to see a change just to add it. It would be nice just to, I know it's implied, but it would be nice to see
And I would,
JROTC
and
like
of course,
in
if
the
we want,
CTEC.
that could be one thing I would bring up there, that let's have that specific wording. If y'all agree that you want that in there, I could, put that out there.
Mrs. Baker?
Being that specific, like coming from the legislature is very imposing on school districts as individuals, and it might not even pertain to some, yet there's a mandate by the legislature for this JROTC program. And that's my only concern, because we do get funding for it. We do provide that. We do have instructors. We do have a lot of kids in the program that are doing amazing things. And we are fortunate to have that, but and like not all are big enough to even have that. And so that's just my concern.
If I can make a suggestion, because it is CTE, JR.
I rose my hand this time.
I'm allowed to talk too. Okay, Mr. Pantera.
No, I agree with you about the mandating a program. This specific item, though, is just if you have the program, get funding from the state for it. I wouldn't want to impose a program on some of the district that can't afford it or has no need for it. But if you have it, I would like to get the funding for it. That's like, so I'm agreeing with you about the imposition of it, imposing things. But I think this is just about if you have it to get it funded.
Do we have funding for it? Does it come from the state?
We
Where
get
does our
fu-
funding for it come from?
Ms. Berrigan?
Ms. Baker and Governing Board, we get some funding for our JROTC instructors. We get half of their compensation of their base pay. So that comes from the federal government or the federal JROTC program. JROTC is part of CTE. So perhaps it's encompassed already in that portion that you're reviewing at the moment. But there is no state funding for JROTC, just to clarify.
So I guess the point being is that if we wanted to suggest that, one place we could consider you asking to amend it might be under 2F, where they have actually added from the first one on the adequately and equitably fund district schools. 2F, they have added CTE, and so we might suggest saying CTE, including JROTC, where applicable or something like that. Yeah. So bringing it up, putting it in there without, but simply acknowledging that it is part of CTE funding. Yeah. Yeah.
While you're looking at that, if I may, you mentioned about the editing part. Well, whenever you get a lot of English teachers or former English teachers on these committees, there's always going to be editing. Okay, so just want to say that right now.
That is true. Does anybody else have any other comments or thoughts? Things that they might want Mr. Pantera to bring up? Are we ready to vote? Okay. So we have made the motion to direct Mr. Pantera to take forth our ideas to the delegate assembly. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is consideration approval of the 2024-2025 Superintendent's Goals and Objectives for the Alternative Performance Pay Plan, and I will turn it over to Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Greenberg, Governing Board. I think what I'd like to do is just establish, I'll go through all three goals and then take questions at the end of that. Does that seem like a plan? Okay, good, thank you. First of all, I want to thank the board for working with me at our summer retreat as we went through these goals and had our first discussion. I also want to thank Cabinet for all their hard work in putting this information together, especially Mrs. Copen and her team for, as you will see, right? It's a pretty extensive academic goal. So anyway, I just wanted to thank them and the board and make sure that as you look at these goals, they are intended to keep us moving forward in a mode of continuous improvement. So with that, you've had these goals now for a little bit to be able to review and look at. So I'm not going to walk through every single objective. I'm going to highlight a few areas. Those of you, if you, got it. As you see these goals, there's you can see that there's a lot of technical language in there that we use, and I'm going to just try to highlight some of those areas and simplify it just a little bit. The first thing to understand about these goals, obviously, when we look at PK-12 education in PV schools, we're focused on every single grade level. We're focused on every single subject area. We're focused on, the arts, right? All of those different things. What we've done here and what the team has done is identified some key areas based on our performance data. And so that's why you will see, we don't have anything, and this will be a little bit later, but we don't have anything in fourth grade, right? What we've identified is some other areas, but you'll see those as we move forward. So as you can see in our first goal, this is a teaching and learning goal. We are establishing some objectives using our Acadience assessment. So we're focused on that early literacy in grades 1 and 2. And you'll see this same theme as we go from objective to objective, where we are really focused on not only our students who are in this case, at or above the benchmark, but we are really targeting specifically our students who are well below the benchmark and trying to create that growth so that even though in first grade or second grade or third grade, they may not get to that at or above, but if we keep chipping away at that well below, they're going to continue to move towards proficiency in those areas. So as you can see, we're going to try to reduce the number of students who are in that well below benchmark, and we're increasing the students who are at or above the benchmark. Second grade, same thing. Still focused on that early literacy. We know that literacy is absolutely key to a student's success, not just in pre-K-12 education, not just in post-high school education, but in life. And so we continue to stay focused on that early literacy in second grade. We move to third grade. Now we're shifting gears. We're no longer using the data from our Acadience assessment. Now we're moving because now our students have access to the Arizona State test. And we're focused in third grade on ELA. Same concept, just different words. So we are reducing the number in minimally proficient, and we are working to increase the number of students who are passing that third grade objective. As I mentioned, right, we don't have that goal in fourth grade. We're staying focused on the areas where our data is telling us that we really need to set these goals in. So as we look at 5th through 8th grade, these are kind of our middle years. Notice that we're shifting to math, right? We need to really, really focus on those middle years and our mathematics instruction and how our students are performing. Again, using the Arizona State test, same concept, right? Reducing minimally proficient, increasing our students who are scoring proficient or even highly proficient. As we move to 11th grade, now we're at all of our juniors take the ACT test. Here, right, as we get to that sort of capstone assessment in our state testing, we move and focus on both ELA and math. And again, same concept there. And then finally, underneath the teaching and learning goal, goal number 1, we have kept in the objective of working towards our 4 initiatives. If you remember the 23-24 goals, this was a key component of that plan. And I wanted to make sure that we keep that in our teaching and learning goal so that we continue to focus on implementing our school success plans across the district to ensure that we're providing these programming and learning opportunities for not just our students, but our teachers as well. Then I'm going to move to goal number 2. This one is, it's really, really exciting. We have an opportunity this year to become system-wide accredited. All right, now let me just take a second and explain, and I'm going to look to the team to make sure I'm providing accurate information. Prior to this year, we have focused on our high schools, right? All high schools are required to be accredited through a program like Cognia, right? And that's to ensure that the course of study that we provide is validated through this process, right? So that when people see our students' transcripts, they can be confident of the rigor, they can be confident of the programming that we provide. What we are doing this year is going system-wide, so it is pre-K-12 now, where all of our schools are going to go through this process where they look at themselves, right? They look at our district programming, they look at how all of those things are aligned to make sure that what we say we're doing is what we're doing, right? To make sure that we have a focus in every single school on continuous improvement. And so this is a big project. This is not something that you take on without having a plan. And Ms. Copen and her team have done an excellent job putting together supports for our schools because it is going to require our teachers and our principals, parents, our students to do some work as we review what we're offering. But what will be the end result is that we will receive a pre-K-12 accreditation. And that's, you know, there are a few districts within the state who do that, but it will be another opportunity for us to show our community that we take alignment very seriously and that they can have faith and trust in the programming that we're providing. When I say it's a heavy lift. Yes? Yes, okay. And then goal number 3 is a continuation. This looks very familiar to you, I'm sure. It's a continuation of a goal from last year where we continue to, the idea behind this goal is to actually complete this project, right? And we are in the final stage of this project. We have created our customer experience standards, and now it's time to roll that out, train our staff, and then you can see that second objective there. Not only train the staff and make sure that we're providing a quality customer experience for our parents, for our students, for our community, but then having a tool to be able to measure, right? To be able to ask our community how we're doing. And so that's a final phase of that last goal. So as I shared with the board at our retreat, it's a little odd, like it's hard to set goals when you're coming in on July 1 and you don't necessarily know how long you're going to be here, right? So we have worked hard to make sure that our academic goal is robust, that it challenges our staff, our students, all of the team that is designed to support them. We have worked to make sure that we are continuing the project of becoming system-wide accredited. And then lastly, that we wrap up that project where we are working with our staff to ensure that we are providing that outstanding customer experience. I am confident in our team that we can accomplish these goals, that they are goals that are meaningful for our staff and our students, our community, our parents, and that we will be able to bring these back and show you our successes as we probably, I think it comes back in about May or June. So with that, I have asked Dr. Holmes and Ms. Copen to be, well, I guess you're available, you're here, right? But to be ready to answer any of the specific questions that you may have on these three goals. With that, we'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reynolds. First, Mrs. Christensen, may I please have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Superintendent's Goals and Objectives for Alternative Performance Pay Plan as presented?
So moved.
So would any member of the board like to comment or have any questions? Mrs. Case.
Dr. Reynolds, you mentioned the word retreat a couple times. Let me just give a definition to that. We met in the room, let's see, over that way. And we had sandwiches and salads and we met about 5 hours. I'm just telling you, the retreat was right here.
Yes,
So,
it is not a trip to.
no, it's
Yeah,
not.
okay.
I just want to get that on the record.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mrs. Case.
Okay, and then I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the academic emphasis that you're bringing to the district. This is near and dear to my heart, and I like the specifics of it. I especially like having the younger grades. I don't want any child to slip through the cracks in our education, and I appreciate the objectives here, and I applaud you for choosing these, and also with older kids too. We're working on everyone, as you said, and I appreciate that and the specificity, and I'm just grateful for your choices. So thank you.
Does anybody, Mr. Pantera?
Yes, I also like these goals. The first ones, of course, the academic ones, are very familiar as we do these as teachers. We're data-driven instruction. We're doing our PLCs. This is right in the wheelhouse of what we've been doing and striving to do. It's good to see it in your goals. I love that. But 2 and 3 really excite me because academics we're always pushing for that, and we've had success there. But I really like the other 2 because that has a more impact of how we can sell our district to get more families to come to this district, bring their students here. You know, the more students we have, the less problems we have with having to, do what we did last year. So I'm really excited about those 2 and look forward to seeing the progress of those.
Anybody else? Mrs. Christensen?
Mrs. Case, you and I are on the same wavelength today. My first comment was to clarify retreat. It wasn't spa in Sedona. It was lunch over here. So yes, I agree. My first clarifying question, are all these goals achievable in fiscal year 2024-25? It looks like, I do like that they're specific and measurable. I just want to ensure that since they're your goals and you are our interim superintendent, that they are achievable. Go ahead.
I
You look
appreciate
like
you
you
saying
wanna
that.
talk,
Yes.
so,
No. Yes, they are achievable. I have been told with utmost confidence that these are absolutely achievable.
Wonderful.
So, no, it is. And I appreciate you saying that because, the superintendent's goals, they are, I mean, we are working on hundreds and hundreds of things, right?
Right.
These are areas where we want to highlight. And I have asked our team, we checked and double checked and triple checked that these goals are realistic, that they are achievable, and that they keep us moving forward.
Okay,
So thank you.
great. So that was my first question because we are going to evaluate you later. So that's good to know.
I am
Gotta
well
get
aware.
So I love the goal number 1 because they focus on academic achievement and they are specific and measurable. So great job, team. I felt that, let's see, the pages aren't numbered, but it's goal 1, district-wide objective. It's the goal that we had before that talks about multi-tiered systems of support, PBIS, PLCs, and STEAM. I just felt that goal was a little bit more vague, whereas the previous goals were very specific. And this one just says PV schools will implement district-wide school success plans. I was under the impression that we've already had success plans for these initiatives and we're working to implement a lot of these because I know we have MTSS, PBIS, we're working toward PLCs, we do have STEAM. So to me, that one was a little bit vague just as a goal. I don't know if
So it's my understanding that last year we did a real deep dive in creating those school plans. And so it's not as if the work didn't continue. It's that the focus was on creating those plans. And this year, our deep dive will be on implementing and supporting our schools as they work towards success in these 4 initiatives.
perfect. So that's the key then. We went from creating the plans to implementation. And I do see that word, but I didn't realize that's the change from last year.
Yes, Ms. Christensen, for the school success plans, they do have specific measures that they track, and we have a dashboard for that. So there's actual numbers. So through the implementation process, that this is Dr. Reynolds' goals, kind of the overarching goals, but the schools will have specifics.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. The next one on goal 2, Cognia system-wide. What is involved in that accreditation? And again, will it be complete by June 2025? Is that something that we've already started and we're going to complete this school year system-wide?
Yes, Ms. Christensen, we started actually last year in pre-candidacy, and so we were granted that. And so now we're in full, application mode. We've been working all summer. We expect to have our part done in February. And then our timeline is then on, with them, with the evaluators. And then, but definitely by May, yes.
Wonderful. Okay. The next goal, improve communication with parents and community. This one is near and dear to my heart. We did have feedback, and I don't recall ever seeing the survey results from last year because we did have surveys go out on things, but I don't know if maybe I just didn't read those. But having
Are you referring to
we had
like a
surveys last
parent satisfaction
yeah,
survey?
parents,
Yeah. Okay.
and I don't recall
You?
ever seen the governing board getting those results, but maybe we did and I forgot to read them, but I don't know.
We'll check
Do we
on
have?
that.
Okay, perfect. I do want to clarify something. One of the things that I noticed, because I was a parent in the district last year, was that I felt that the survey had a bit of an integrity concerns in that you can do the survey as much as possible. And what I was told by your predecessor last year was that, well, in order to make it anonymous, we opened it up. But my concern was that you can check, like I had one child at one high school and I could check that I had a child in elementary school. I can check, so to me, I like to be very accurate. And if we're going to be collecting data and we're going to be using that data, I would like to see it be, so for instance, here's a scenario. Say I have 5 kids in the district at various schools. I would like the opportunity to evaluate 5 kids and not 35 kids to give feedback. So are
So,
you
Yeah,
understanding
Phil,
where
I'm just gonna,
So just for clarification, that survey is not connected to this goal. That's something different, but I'm sure Dr. Reynolds will, and the team will take those comments into consideration.
yeah, we'll look at the parent satisfaction survey and make sure we've got that data. But what we're referring to here is not, and I'm gonna look to Mr. Dro, is not to collect that feedback through that tool in this goal, rather a separate opportunity. Is that correct?
That's correct, Dr. Reynolds. Ms. Christensen and Governing Board, the Parent Satisfaction Survey collects more information than just customer experience data. It talks about a lot of things that go into the school experience. This would be specific to the guest experience in our schools.
Okay, and will this new experience have integrities built into the tool where the data will be accurate?
Working in PR and marketing, Ms. Christensen and Governing Board, I would like to have accurate data as
Okay,
well. So that will
perfect.
be a consideration for
I
sure.
like that answer. Thank you.
And I just want to clarify, so as a parent in the district, when I receive that satisfaction survey, I can take it as many times as I want and say how amazing the interim superintendent is?
Does anybody else have any other comments, questions, thoughts? Mrs. Baker?
I just appreciate you jumping in to these goals because they are not, I mean, we didn't just give mediocre goals, they're aggressive goals. So I appreciate you coming in and being willing to step up to the challenge to improve the academics and the customer experience in our school district. So they're good goals.
Well, thank you. Just to mention that that's only possible because of the foundation, right, that has been laid. So it, although they are aggressive goals, right? They've got our attention, but we couldn't do this in this particular situation if that foundation hadn't already been laid and our team hadn't already been doing fantastic work, our teachers and our students. So we're ready.
We do have great teams.
Anybody else have any other comments? Everybody's pretty much, oh wait, was that hand? No, okay, I'm sorry. I only caught it part way. Everybody pretty much said everything I said. I wanted to say I agree. I'm happy that we are very focused on academics and have pinpointed specific areas, even though it's pretty extensive when you go, hey, 5 through 8. And also bringing in 11th grade and ACT, I think is very, very important. Good luck. But thank you to the team in total for supporting these goals. If nobody else has any other comments, we have a motion on the floor to approve these. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And I'm sure we will get updates on these over time. So next on the agenda is acceptance of gifts and donations. It's actually a fairly long list for the beginning of school. There's 2 I'd like to highlight. Ben Grover, on behalf of Knox Company, donated 4 microscopes to Desert Cove Elementary School's STEM room, valued at $3,600. And Emily and Eric Forrest provided $1,000 for the site discretionary fund at Greyhawk Elementary. Thank you to all of our donors. If any of you are on this list, thank you in person. And Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to approve gifts and donations?
So moved.
Anybody have any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is the item that we moved from the consent agenda. So that was F11 and is now G6. This is a request for approval to reopen the Arrowhead Elementary School CTDS number as the James P. Lee Early Learning Center. We do have public comment on that, and that would be Nicole Klutwick. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Nicole Klutwick, and I'm a parent here. I've had 2 boys graduate and 1 boy still in school. And so I've been coming to these meetings for a long time. First of all, sorry for not starting with the niceties. Thank you all for being here, for all of your time. I know it's unpaid and it's a just a volunteer service from your hearts. So I do appreciate all of your time. What I wanted to do is just pull this out of consent because I think that the public will probably want to know the deliberation that happened. I don't know if deliberations on this had happened in the retreat. I'm assuming they did, because I know they can't happen outside of any non-agenda meeting that isn't announced. So I either wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss it, or if you've already discussed it, give you an opportunity to share that with the public, because having just closed 3 schools, they might be very sensitive to the fact that we're reopening another school. On here, I didn't see any discussion of what the cost will be to open a new school. I know we were thinking we were saving $600,000 per school. I don't see if this is going to cost us $600,000 or some other number, but I thought in your deliberations that that would probably be something you'd want to consider. I do understand the reasoning for this. I read the information. I mean, it makes some sense, but there's so many questions that I personally have that I would want to ask if given the opportunity as a back and forth. It's hard to know all of those questions now without hearing what the deliberations already were. So I was just hoping for that. Like for instance, one of the questions would be, I know we had one school when we went into the school closure committee that was listed as having 900, capacity for 900, and then they had under 400 students, so leaving a capacity for 500. In the middle of that deliberation process, they were recalibrated to only having capacity of 600. So one of the things I would hope would be discussed is there really not room anywhere for these 200 to potentially 300 students? So I think the public would like to know that in an effort of transparency and communication and reaching out, right, to parents, kind of alongside with that third goal. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I think I'm going to ask Mrs. Berrigan to address that because I think we can explain what is actually happening. Thank
Yes,
you.
it's actually quite simple, more of a technical issue to address. The ADE has provided revised guidance to school districts, and whereas we used to report these students under Roadrunner, they're all preschool students. We used to report the JPL students under Roadrunner, and now the revised guidance from ADE is that they need to be reported as their own school. And so since they're on the Arrowhead campus, they advised that that would make the most sense to just reactivate that CTDS number. It's not opening a new school. It's not an additional cost in any way, shape, or form. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Actually, let's get the motion on the floor to approve the request to reopen the Arrowhead Elementary School CTDS number as James P. Lee Early Learning Center. Mrs. Christensen?
So moved.
Okay, now we can have more of a discussion. Does any board member have any?
Let me just ask this question. So you're saying this is just a technical thing? There's no money exchanged? We're just putting the Arrowhead number, CD number,
Mhm.
whatever that means,
Yes.
so those students have that number instead of being under the Roadrunner umbrella.
Yeah, it's for state reporting. When we report those students for our ADM, our average daily membership, we report them under the CTDS number, which simply stands for county, type, district, and school. And we will report them under the Arrowhead CTDS number instead of the Roadrunner number. It's just a
But the
reporting
name of
change.
the school stays the same as the preschool, James Lee preschool, everything.
We're not changing the name of the preschool. That's correct.
So it's just a technical numerical change.
Correct.
Mr. Pantera?
It's an example again of how the legislature decides to change the red tape on us and makes us more work without funding us.
This one is not due to a legislative change.
Oh,
This is,
okay.
this is a change from Arizona Department of Education, AD.
Okay. But still from outside us. More red tape.
Outside of us. It's
Yeah.
not a change we initiated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any other comments? So we're not opening a new school. We're not. It's literally a number change. Nobody else has any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
I recuse myself from the vote.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-1 with one recusal. Next on the agenda is call to the public. So I would ask that you turn your attention to the video monitors.
Up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules, as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Thank you. Tonight we have 3 people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting, so each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker is Jennifer Ariza, and our second speaker is Nicole Klutwick.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Riza, and I stand here tonight as a concerned parent in the Paradise Valley School District, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. First, I want to welcome Dr. Reynolds. Welcome. We appreciate you stepping in for Dr. Bales. And second, I would also like to thank each one of the board members for being here. It is difficult, even for us, just to come to the board meeting, so we really appreciate all the hours that you put in and service. And I also want to thank our board for your professionalism. Every time I come here, you're completely professional in how you present and conduct yourself in the board meetings. And I and our community really appreciate that too. I stand here tonight as a concerned parent in the Paradise Valley School District, and I do appreciate the opportunity for you listening. My concern as a parent in the district is the education and welfare of our students. As I stand here today, I want to advise you that pornography should not be allowed in our schools. I'm hopeful that the 2024-2025 school year will be the year that we as a community take a stand against approving any additional pornographic material for our schools. Our schools, our community is concerned about the increasing sexualization of our students, particularly as it's being pushed to lower and lower grades. Have any of our board members taken the time to research the effects of pornography on children? I'm continually bombarded with messages about the mental health of our students, so I have to ask each of you if you think that sexualized pornographic material is helping the mental health of our students in our district. I hope everybody realizes that pornography is used to train and desensitize people and increase demand for human trafficking. I don't know if anybody's known somebody that's been a victim of human trafficking, but Arizona is home to the largest human sex trafficking recovery program. And we are taking younger and younger children down to elementary age. I just want to highlight that for you and ask each of you to consider that if increasing sexualization of material is helping to protect our students. And let's, as a community, put an end to it this year. And what if our board here at Paradise Valley was known for putting an end to pornographic material being approved in schools? And what if each of you drew a line in the sand and said no more pornographic material on your watch? I would encourage each of you to give this serious thought as you continue to review material to approve this year and the future years that you serve, because you are the guardians of the material that ends up in our classrooms. Thank you.
President Greenberg,
Next
President
is-
Greenberg, can I know I can't answer her, but I just have a question. Can I ask it, or how does that work? No?
No, but what I would recommend is that we have Ms. Copen reach out and listen to your concerns and yeah.
Okay, next is Nicole Klutwick, followed by Heather Schmidt.
So first of all, I do want to thank you for answering that question. It was worded in such a way where it says open arrowhead. It was I'm very thankful that it's just a clerical change that's being made. So that's very helpful. I just wanted to address, and I know this isn't something that you guys can address today, it's not on the agenda, but I would love to see it on the future board meeting. As you guys know, Title IX was effective August 1st, and right now there's not a lot of clarity about how that impacts our school. Me personally, I'm not sure if that means, since there's been no communication, if that means we're not implementing the new changes. I know 22 states brought court cases and the judges all sided with those states. And so there's an injunction in those states. So I don't know if we're waiting to see kind of what happens with the court cases. I don't know if we're not impacted because our previous policies were already in line with the changes that these new regulations were requiring. I just don't know at all. And I think parents would like to know. It's a very hot topic. Part of that is the discussion around sex-based private spaces, right? So we're talking about bathrooms, locker rooms, hotel rooms, or any places that kids would sleep on overnight field trips. All of those spaces parents are concerned about and would like to know what our policy is. And as of right now, so I was on the Family and Student Handbook Committee, not this last year, but the year before. One of the things I noted was that we are on a case-by-case basis when those situations come up, right? When children are feeling impacted and that they're not as things should be, then those things are handled on a case-by-case basis, which I think is appropriate. But at the same time, what that means is if a student is given permission to be in a private space that's been determined based on biological sex that somebody had when they were born, well, parents of the students attending that school have absolutely no way of knowing because that's all protected as that student's private information. So there's a lack of transparency right now that you could have 100 kids in a school who are in that situation, and the parents of the school have no idea. And there are parents who are very concerned about that issue. So I would love it if you guys could address the issue and make a clarification in the policy so parents are aware of what's going on in the schools. Thank you.
Finally, Heather Schmidt.
Good evening, President Greenberg, Dr. Reynolds, Cabinet, Governing Board. I am very happy to stand in front of you. My name is Heather Schmidt, and I am proud to be serving as the president of the Paradise Valley Education Association this school year. First of all, I'd like to welcome Dr. Reynolds back to Paradise. It is a delight to get to know you in this capacity and work with you and with cabinet and supporting our certified employees across the district. Though I've been on the job for just a few weeks, I have already been made to feel very welcome. And I look forward to working with cabinet and you, Dr. Reynolds. I wanted to thank President Greenberg and Mr. Pantera for being able to join us at our new certified employee orientation last week. I know that most of you have day jobs and are very busy, and I appreciate that there was time able to be given in welcoming our new certified employees to PV. I'm very proud to stand in this space and work with the certified group to ensure that we are providing the best possible learning conditions for our students and having spaces for our certified employees to feel safe and welcomed and being able to provide the best instruction for those students that they possibly can. I look forward to the continued collaboration and partnership between PVEA and PVUSD in the coming months. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. There are no items for discussion this evening. So before we adjourn, I'd like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be Thursday, August 22nd, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.